What's up guys, Americano back with another video. These charts act as a fear meter for the market in both traditional financial assets as well as crypto. And one of them I've never seen anybody talk about. So let's dive into the charts and see what it means for current crypto price action. All right guys, up top in the bar chart, we have the VIX. If you guys don't know what this is, it's the volatility index. Okay, when this thing spikes, it means the market's super fearful. It means there's insane volatility. And typically these large spikes, or really all the time, these large spikes coincide with us dumping in the market. When this thing is flat and basing at the bottom, everything's chill, there's no crazy news, and the market tends to do very well. When this thing is in one of these basing periods or trending down, as you see here, trend down, market kind of trends up, this thing moves flat, or we can move flat, so on and so on. I will say this thing is not like, this is not something you can chart. So looking at this, right, this thing is an oscillator of sorts, right? Something that you can really do TA on. But lucky for us, we have built this custom momentum indicator, and you can use it when looking at momentum, which is really nice. Okay, so let me kind of frame this up for you guys, right? I'm not looking at any of these buy signals. I'm not looking at any of these bullish divergences. These don't really mean too much, and let me tell you why. The VIX, it moves sharply, right? Back and forth and back and forth, back and forth. So when to get a buy signal, it's going to be, you're going to be catching the top. If you see in here, because it moves so quickly, this buy signal actually catches the top. This buy signal catches near the top. This buy signal kind of actually catches the base, but that's COVID. That's a little bit of a different scenario. So I suppose you could maybe use it under certain circumstances, but I more so want to talk about the momentum. As you can see here, right? And as you guys know, most of the time the market is a relatively chill place. Not so much with Trump in office, but most of the time the market is relatively chill. That would coincide with, what am I trying to say? With momentum, being bearish, being down, right? Nice flat VIX is going to be good for the market. And most of the time it is. Most of the time this thing just stays down low. We don't really have to worry about any spikes or anything like that. But we do get these news events and narratives and things like that that come along and cause a little bit of turmoil in the market. Recently, we have had one of the same nature. This is going back to October 27th. October 6th, we kind of start to see it rounding up. And this is like tariff stuff coming back and just Bank of Japan raising rates, all these different things that have happened over the last few months that have caused a lot of shocks in the market, whether that be crypto or traditional markets, causing these spikes and causing these shifts in momentum to the upside. I have Bitcoin's chart in blue, right? You can see when we did get this cross, what happened in Bitcoin, right? We actually moved down. But I do want to point out, let me make this full screen. You can actually see on the weekly time frame, this thing is rolling over. If we look back to really any point in time, we see these, points of fear, these spikes of fear. Again, these are quick spikes and they kind of get relieved relatively quickly, right? This is 1, 2, 3 weeks of max fear, spike in the VIX in April with all the tariff news, and then it kind of rolled off, right? In this roll off is kind of where we've found, yes, relief in the market, but also found like bottoms in the market, whether that be, bottom and pump or just find a bottom in the market, stabilize, things like that, when this weekly momentum actually starts rolling over. I do want to point out, I'm not cherry picking, but I didn't add these in here. And why was that? Because we did not have any sort of sustained move, in safety, like over a period of time before then. So I said the VIX moves very, very fast. And when it comes to momentum, if it's doing this, momentum is not going to give us the clearest view in there at the time. So I just want to point that out. But again, so let's look at when we had sustained periods, right? We can go back to February of 2020. We had a spike, right? This caused us to get this cross, this peak. But you can see once we started rolling over, by the time we had crossed again, COVID had happened, market had rallied back, right? And we were well on our way to upside in there. You can see small spike in the VIX in here. Can't really see it. It looks like it didn't really hurt us at all. I'm looking at, actually, is this Bitcoin? Yeah, this is Bitcoin. Looking at Bitcoin chart, didn't really hurt us in here. But you can see once this thing did start rolling over, market went on to do great things. Again, not cherry picking, but didn't talk about that just because the reflexivity of it. But the last time we had a spike, or another time we had a spike in the VIX, October of 2022, right? By the time we started rolling over, right? Yes, Bitcoin had dumped. I'm not saying this means, bottom and pump or things like that. These are times of fear. We're looking at times of fear, but we're looking at it through the lens of what happens during these extreme fear moments. And when those extreme fear moments start tapering off, we were able to find a bottom in Bitcoin, go on the rest of the cycle, spike in fear in here. Actually, by the time this thing started rolling over, market was well on its way, found a little bottom in here, moved on. Same thing in here, kind of little, not bottom, but bottom, moved up, bigger bottom in here, actually made new highs on this chart in here, or on this instance in here. But you can see, right, we are currently in a similar situation, right? We had a large spike in the VIX. You see momentum start rapidly increasing in here. Maybe something we can look out for in the future. Maybe in here we start seeing, hey, VIX is moving relatively quickly. Let's be a little cautious. That's for future times. But we do have currently the same declining momentum that we want to see. So let's say 2-3 weeks from now, if we cross back into the red, I do expect us at a bare minimum to be in a situation like this where we have bottomed, even if it's just meant to get back to 98K, even if it's just meant to get back to 110K or something and then roll over. I'm not making that argument, I'm not making that claim, but it would point to, right, anytime we get the VIX cooling off, right, it's going to point to better times in the market, not as scary, less volatility, more trending, okay, and potentially finding bottoms coming out of a spike in fear. You guys know Warren Buffett, right? Fearful when others are greedy. VIX is a really good way to look at it. This works off of options data. Options is one of the best places to actually look at data in traditional markets. It's where the smartest money is at, some of the biggest markets. But again, yeah, just wanted to point that out on the VIX. And as promised, I said we would talk about a chart that nobody seems to talk about. That would be CVI. Okay, CVIX is going to stand for, CVIX is just Crypto Volatility Index. To get this, you can go to CVI.finance. Okay, this is not a chart you can actually get on TradingView, sadly. I'm pretty sure I could probably get indicators on here. I would like to get my custom indicator. I'm not sure how possible that is, but I just want to point out, right, using or looking at the VIX that we have here, right, obviously moving down, weekly momentum moving down, right, we could assume something probably pretty similar to the Crypto Volatility Index. And then even just looking at the chart, this thing has been heading down, which should be good for us. We want this thing as low as possible, low as possible. All right, sorry guys, I actually got interrupted there in the middle of the video, but you guys should get the point of what I'm talking about. We dove into the analysis looking just at the VIX. Crypto VIX is going to work the same way, but I think it's a pretty cool chart. And this is working on crypto options data. Again, gives us a lot of insight what smart money is doing and things like that. But interesting chart that I wanted to show you guys as well. So shout out to CVI Finance for this one. Make sure you guys check it out, and we will wrap up the video here. As always, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you're liking the new setup, working on getting some actual lighting behind here so I'm not so kind of like drowned out a little bit depending on the time of day. But anyways, I appreciate you guys as always. Let me know if you have any comments, questions. If I can help you in any way, just drop it in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.